painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Artbeat. Artbeat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Artbeat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Artbeat, we go to the Blue Heron Coffee House and indulge ourselves in some performative poetry by acclaimed Minnesota artist and poet Dougie Padilla. Dougie, who identifies as half Norwegian, half Mexican, and half cowboy, spends most of his time creating expressive art and writing inspiring poetry in his studio in Pepin, Wisconsin. He has also done everything from hitchhiking across the country and living with the guru in India to co-founding nonprofit organizations helping keep the art alive in the Twin Cities. He might be 76 years old, but don't let that fool ya. This man is still just as colorful and creative as his poems. And, having just released his 6th book of poetry in 10 years, doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. I'm Abby Hawkey, telling you to put down your inner thoughts and get ready to get in front of that open mic, because we are bringing you Dougie Padilla today on Artbeat.
So my name is Dougie Padilla. I want to thank the Blue Heron Cafe, and I want to thank Ken and the Poet Laureate Series, and Emilio, wherever he is. And this is my 3rd time here. I came to a couple open mics. The group invited my dear friend Jim Lenfesty, and he got me to come down here with him to read a couple poems. And it's been fun. This is a good group. It's hard to get many people in the room with poets. So thank you for coming tonight. So we're going to rock for a little bit here, I guess. So 10 years ago, I moved to Pepin, and I was at the bar, the Bear's Den. It was a great bar. What a dive. But I liked it. And I met the bartender, came over to talk to me and my buddy right away. And he used to make his living diving for clams in Lake Pepin. So this is a poem about what he told me. It's called 40 Feet Down, and it's the title of my latest book. 40 feet down. In the little town along the big river lake where I seem to spend whole big chunks of my life, Mike the bartender at the Bear's Den tells us stories of the lake floor bottom, of his quiet life 40 feet down, of hours on end underwater, life spent in solid blackness, unable to see his hands at the end of his arms, breathing through a tube, breathing slowly, scooping clams up out of the muck and hoisting them up to the boat and sending them off to sushi stars in Tokyo, Paris, and Scottsdale, or button makers lost in Pennsylvania hammocks. We are all 40 feet down, my friend. Plenty of work to do. You can rest tomorrow. Can you imagine sitting 40 feet down? I said, wasn't that claustrophobic? He said, it was the most wonderful feeling in the world. I loved it. I didn't like coming back up.
I am Abby Hawkey. I am here with Dougie Padilla, and I have a couple questions for you. First of all, do you think that a poem can be unsuccessful?
I think poems flop all the time. I'm not going to say a poet is unsuccessful, because unsuccessful has too much to do with the world and career. Your next poem may be wonderful. And you, the guy next to me, might love it, and I hate it. And I'll tell you if I don't like it, and I'll have a high opinion of what I think, but still, somebody else might like it. You have to put in a lot of time. They say 10,000 hours to master a craft. I've put 10,000 hours into writing and into art, and actually probably into music too. So I can tell. So I can tell you right now, I'm not in the ball game with music anymore. I'm just too rusty, too long. If I want to get back to music, I'm going to have to put a lot of time in. But I can tell when I'm on the ball with writing and for what I like. This is called The Vow for my friend Shoto. Shoto is a Zen priest, Zen Buddhist priest. It's the beginning of winter, and I'm waiting for another bear dream. One with lots of sleep in it. I could use lots of sleep. And inside that sleep, there will be stars, maybe the whole Milky Way. I could use stars too. I'll be out on the river in my boat, the boat that I have wanted forever. It will be summer. I will be alone. The only sounds I will hear are the waves lapping against the sides of the boat, small tongues tasting the fiberglass hull, tasting my boat's sweetness in the total blackness, sweetness night. But next to that blackness, that sweetness, next to the bear dreams and the Milky Way visions, I have found my way back to India, to Maharashtra. And I'm taking the shortcut to the ashram. I'm walking through a vacant lot next to and underneath the bridge, and there are tiny hovels everywhere, plastic bag, gunny sack, cardboard hovels, almost naked folks wandering about, sleeping in those hovels, cooking their rice on small kerosene stoves outside those hovels, chatting with each other, smoking their beedies. And just a short walk away, just feet away, there are piles of runny laying alongside the path I'm walking. And I realize these people, beyond skinny and cold, often miserable, have probably not had a good solid their entire lives. And suddenly I remember all my time in the zendo, all that time facing the wall, watching my breath, and the vow I repeated daily. Sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them. The deluding desires are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. The Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to attain it.
So I want to know, when did you realize that, writing poetry and being an artist is what you wanted to do?
Well, I didn't even start being an artist till I was 32. I started being a poet when I was 16 or 17. In my 20s, I was trying harder to be a musician, unsuccessfully, I think. But, there is, you're an artist when you say you're an artist, period. But actually all there is the art. You're creating, you're arting, you're poeting, you're singing. The other stuff's just career. Yeah, no, I remember with the visual arts, I had my second heart attack when I was 38. And when I was recovering, my wife said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of us." And while I recovered, I just drew and drew and drew and drew and drew. And that's when I kind of went, oh, there's something here. With poetry didn't come back until I was 65. I started it again. There was a 40-year layoff, and I didn't expect it to come back. I wasn't looking for it. I tried to write my memoirs, and it was not working, and poetry just came. So it came back hard. Here's a poem close to Winona, but not in Winona. So from, about 3 years into the 70s, I lived in Trempealeau County across the river. It was a commune in the hills by Ettrick, Wisconsin. But it was I lived through a winter in an army tent with a pregnant wife. This is called For James Mejia. The snow came in long, hard waves all night, till this morning I woke with a good solid foot of pretty wet stuff hugging the ground. It was the snowplow that woke me, driving madly up and down 2nd Street, then Main, a blaze orange dump truck, bull. A blaze orange dump truck, bull, charging madly at unseen red flags. I talked to Eric over at Paul and Franz. He's been there his whole life and he can't discern any pattern to the plowing either. I think the county drivers are using this village as their canvas. Modernists throwing paint, whichever way the moment allows. Kind of hard to figure out where to park though. No matter, I gotta move this stuff off the sidewalk as best I can. Wondering at 68 how much longer I can do this. Maybe I should start farming it out. But I do love shoveling snow. Nothing better than working up a good sweat on a gorgeous white winter day, using my sweet body like an athlete again, tossing shovel load after shovel load out into the street. Suddenly, I think of James Mejia, 6'2", pole skinny, hard muscled, black Puerto Rican from the city, all afroed out, a dark halo surrounding his grinning, stoned eyes, running down the mile-long driveway from the commune to where we stood, shovels in hands, trying to dig out of the mud the school bus we turned into a pickup truck with torches. It took 10 of us and 3 tractors to pull that baby free. By the time it was flying home to the commune, we were all covered with mud to our knees. And James was a happy man. Because James Mejia always ran to trouble. Because trouble was where the action was. Trouble was where the moment was most alive. Trouble was so much more interesting than the vacant sloth of easy. Spring of '74, Trumpeldor County, Wisconsin.
Why do you read a poem from other poets during your readings?
Because you got to give your props to the great ones that have come before. You know, anything other than that's just completely arrogant. You know, we're all part of a fabric, and we have to acknowledge the fabric. How many fans do we have of Suttung Po? Anybody? Fans? 1. Anybody else? Did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Suttung Po has a bunch of other names in Chinese. I use the wrong one because it's the one that's been popularized. It's translated by Arthur Waley. He was, I don't know, God, I can't remember how, maybe 1350 or something like that. It's called On the Birth of a Son. Families, when a child is born, hope it will turn out intelligent. I, through intelligence, have wrecked my whole life. I only hope that the baby will prove ignorant and stupid. Then he'll be happy all his days and grow into a cabinet minister. So this poem is called On Reading Suttung Po for Natalie Goldberg. Anybody who knows who Natalie Goldberg is? Writing Down the Bones. She sold 13 million copies of probably the best book on writing there is, Writing Down the Bones. And when I started writing again, I looked her up, found her on the internet down in New Mexico, and I wrote her. She wrote back and I said, remember me? We hung out together around the Zen Center, and that one time when you were getting divorced from your husband, I was getting divorced, thinking about getting divorced from my wife, we took a 2-hour walk around Lake Calhoun talking about things. And she said, yeah, I don't really remember you, but I remember your ex-wife really well. On Reading Suttung Po for Natalie. The weather hotter than Hades, as they say. Dougie sick as a dog with COVID, isolated, alone. His wife far away up north near the cities. Old friends dying. Even the guy across the street last night. And reading Suttung Po again, banished once more, this time to Hainan province. Quote, how many exiles have ever returned? Unquote. Yet this hammock is remarkably soft. The breeze is light and cool. And now the sunset wanders in towards me here in the backyard, and I forget all my worries.
What does poetry offer you that other mediums don't?
You know, I was a musician, not a great one, but I did a bunch of music, and I was trained as a musician. And I've spent almost 40 years as an artist, and I've had my solo show at a museum in Paris, and I write. And you like to think they all are the same, but they're not. And for example, I haven't been doing music for a while, and I really miss it because I go to a different space. Writing, I kind of disappear into the writing. With art, it's more like I have a studio and I'm walking around doing things with saws and stuff. So you can't really disappear in the same way, but you can create sort of a soup that you're living in for a while, where you're sailing. But writing is very solo. Music can be solo, but oftentimes you can do it with other people. I like how you can really just disappear into something and not, your mind's gone. It's just all sort of sailing. I'm sailing through the art. This is from my book, Rivertown. This poem is called 1,000 Stars. It's cold out here. The dog's hiding from me at the mere mention of heading outdoors. She's got to poop sometime, though. So I layer her in dog sweaters, silly dog sweaters, and hide me in layer after layer of silk and flannel and wool, and down and out I head. Snow squeaks loud, loud, loud as I clomp, clomp down the dark streets, making my less than merry rounds. Stars, oh God, so bright, heaven so black, heaven so close, so close. Suddenly I hear Kathy Young and the Innocents. Each night I count the stars in the sky, hoping that you aren't telling me lies. Oh God, I'm having a nostalgia relapse. You're with me tonight, I'm captured by your charms. Oh pretty baby, won't you hold me in your arms, 1,000 stars in the sky. It's below zero freezing out, and suddenly I'm back in 7th grade, and Jesus, I'm chasing Jan Maxwell all around St. Louis Park, a doggerel adolescent cocktail mix of true love and not so awakened quasi-intelligent sentience, girdled by an overdose of high-quality pure junior high hormones. Then just as suddenly the words of Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Baqi, Rumi, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Baqi fall on me. We are stars wrapped in skin. We are stars wrapped in skin. And I see that we are all madly loved, madly loved, madly loved, constantly and always held and caressed, even in the depth of cold, even in the depth of hardship, even in the depth of darkness. And even as I race home with the dog, and even as I climb back into my nice warm bed, even as I run from the furious knife-edge world we live in, the world of fear and desperate suffering, and the cold, the deep cold, even then, I feel the one whose heart is the beginning and end of all things. The beginning and end of all things. This moment, this god-awful crushing moment, this glorious golden crushing moment, this moment of jasmine and lily, of phlox and dandelion, this moment of gentle whiteness, blanketing lake and bluffs forever. Dougie says, there is a great embrace inside this cold. There is a wonderful sweetness inside this cold. Inside this desperate, dark, nasty winter night is an invitation to true and lasting joy. Dance on that knife edge tonight. Sing until you're a horse.
Last question I have for you is, what advice do you have for up-and-coming artists and poets?
I think you should practice meditation and learn about the mind. The mind is a monkey. Do you own your monkey, or does your monkey own you? Your mind's going to lie to you about
a lot of things. To be able to get good at something, you have to be able to stay on target and not listen to all that crap going through your head. And just keep working, and don't expect to be good before you're 40. People these days think you got to be good early. It's very rare when somebody's good young. There's the occasional Bob Dylan or whomever, occasional, but most people have to work a long time to be good. And consider that a blessing, because if you're good young and you become famous, that's a fast route to destruction, because you're not ready for it. If I would have gotten famous when I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, even my 40s, I would have been a drunk or whatever. I would have, take one step at a time. Don't need it to be fast. Just learn to love the craft. Learn to love the path.
It's called Something Came Down to Me, for Margarita Padilla Torres, my great-grandmother. And then, when I awoke, I knew I had to search for my great-grandmother. Lost from me as she is, no photos, no stories. Lost to the family, lost to Mexico, to Chihuahua, lost to the old days. And then, abruptly, I saw her. I saw her over there. She was on the other side, just for a moment, right there at the edge. She was older than I'd imagined. Her hair was grayer, shorter too. She was sitting just outside the church, the one on the other side of the village, out beyond most of the houses, out near the old adobe school, the old one, the one that's mostly falling down. There was a small stream close by. Near where she sat, there were cactuses and dogs. I remember the dogs, 3 or 4 of them, all black with white spots, or white with black spots. All of them were small and yapping. And right then, just when I saw her, I knew that there was a bridge nearby, a bridge across the stream, though I didn't actually see that bridge. And there were birds crying out loudly, ravens, sparrows, blue jays, grackles, though I didn't hear those birds, didn't actually hear those birds. And I knew I had to leave and come back later, though I wasn't sure when later was, or even what the way back might be. But I knew I needed to talk to her, despite all the years, all the decades, needed to talk across the dry Chihuahuan desert, across the border, across the states of the USA, of Mexico, across the desert. And just then something came to me, something that I cannot talk about, something that I cannot touch. Something came to me. And that something walked past me, walked right past me late at night. That something was singing ever so quietly, walking past me with the lightest of steps, walked past and singing as if I wasn't there, as if I wasn't at all. And yes, I know now, something came down to me, something that I cannot talk about, something that I cannot touch, something came down to me. Thank you.
Thanks again to Dougie Padilla for joining us today on Artbeat. For more information on Dougie and his other artistic mediums, go to dougiepadilla.com. For more conversations on art, tune into Artbeat, Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. For podcasts of Artbeat and other KQAL original programming, go to kqal.org. I'm Abby Hawkey, and you just heard from artist and poet Dougie Padilla right here on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.